Canada has just lived through one of the most stunning 24-hour political shifts in its modern history, and the rest of the world has barely begun to understand the scale of what just happened. Because while everyone was watching the noise, the drama, and the headlines, Mark Carney was quietly rearranging the future of Canada with a level of strategy and precision that even his opponents never saw coming. And let's be honest, no one expected Carney to move this fast. In a single day, Canada went from a country reacting to Donald Trump's pressure to a country openly outmaneuvering the United States, rewriting alliances, unlocking new global partnerships, and exposing deep fractures in the Conservative Party, fractures that Pierre Poilievre can no longer hide. But the moment that truly stunned the nation wasn't even the budget itself. It was how the budget passed. 170 MPs backed Carney's plan, a budget built around protecting communities, securing borders, strengthening local manufacturing, accelerating the energy transition, and expanding social programs that millions of Canadians rely on. But that wasn't the real story. The real story was what happened behind the scenes.
Before moving forward, do subscribe for Parliament updates.
The NDP didn't vote for the budget. They didn't vote against it. They simply didn't show up. Most Canadians shrugged. Political strategists didn't. Because what Carney just pulled off was a masterclass in diplomacy. He gave the NDP an exit that protected their base, preserved their brand, and kept them from triggering an election they would be annihilated in. By abstaining, the budget passed safely, without the NDP taking a hit, without triggering a crisis, and without giving Pierre Poilievre the chaos he was praying for. Carney didn't force the NDP. He didn't threaten them. He gave them an option that protected everyone, including himself. That is political IQ. That is precision. That is leadership. Meanwhile, Poilievre walked into the House of Commons thinking he had leverage. He walked out exposed. Two Conservative MPs shifted support to the Liberals before the budget was even presented, a political earthquake inside the Conservative caucus. And when the moment came, Poilievre had nothing. No strategy. No control. Not even a new line to deliver. Only the same slogans Canadians have heard 1,000 times, while Carney stood steady, clear, and confident. For the first time since he became Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre looked like a man who could not hold his own team together. And every MP watching from across the aisle could feel it. This is not the United Conservative Party Poilievre keeps pretending it is. This is a party starting to fracture, and Carney is the one exposing the cracks. But the political drama was only the beginning. Because what unfolded next was nothing less than a geopolitical shift, the likes of which Canada has not seen in decades.
Well, what I've said is I don't believe that we've had enough jobs created and industrial benefits done out of the F-35 contract. I think it's not enough. I think Canadians expect more, and we should get more. So that's my first point. And second, when it comes to the Gripen, of course, we're really interested in seeing what can be done, because there was an unsolicited bid that came up. 10,000 jobs is indeed a very interesting offer. So we have to look at what our military capabilities need, and at the same time, what are the number of jobs created across the country. I know that Canadians want us to build more in Canada, build with Canadian jobs, and that's what I'm pushing for.
In a stunning reversal of decades-old defense doctrine, Canada is now openly weighing the possibility of replacing American-made F-35 fighter jets with Sweden's Gripen jets, a move that would shatter U.S. military expectations and ignite a political firestorm in Washington. The Gripen deal could create up to 10,000 Canadian jobs built in Canadian factories, by Canadian workers, contributing to Canadian supply chains. For the first time in a generation, Canada is saying out loud, we don't need to rely on the United States for our defense future. That message alone is enough to send shockwaves through the Pentagon, and through Donald Trump's inner circle. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly didn't hide it. She said exactly what millions of Canadians have felt for years. Canada should be building Canadian capacity first. Canadian jobs. Canadian innovation. Canadian independence. The era of waiting for the US to deliver, only to be ignored or politically punished, is over. Carney is pushing for a Canada that decides based on national interest, not American pressure. And if Washington thought that was the end of the shift, it was only the beginning. Because hours later, as the political dust settled, Sweden's king arrived in Canada, not for ceremony, but for strategy. Standing beside King Carl XVI Gustav, Mark Carney announced a sweeping strategic partnership covering defense, trade, environment, AI, advanced manufacturing, and long-term technological cooperation. This was not a symbolic handshake. This was a realignment. Canada and Sweden, two nations that share values, environmental leadership, NATO responsibilities, and democratic stability, are now stepping into a deeper partnership that sends one unmistakable message. Canada is no longer waiting for America's approval. Canada is building with Europe, with independence, with purpose. And right in the middle of all of this, shaping alliances, building leverage, resetting Canada's global identity, is Mark Carney and the political powerhouse he shares with the woman standing at his side in every diplomatic room, Mrs. Carney. A partnership that foreign leaders have already begun calling a new power duo. And while Western alliances were realigning, something even more unexpected happened on the other side of the world. China reopened its travel approval for Canadians. Tariff discussions restarted. And Chinese EVs, some of the most affordable and advanced in the world, may soon enter the Canadian market. A nightmare for U.S. automakers. A direct counter to Trump's tariffs. And a new era of options for Canadian consumers. Mark Carney didn't just navigate Trump's economic threats, he flipped them into opportunities.
Such an honor to welcome you, Your Majesties, to Canada. And, you know, the motto, if I may, Your Majesty, motto of the King is for Sweden with the times. And we're meeting at exceptional times when friendships such as ours, similar values such as ours between Sweden and Canada could not be more important. We're just signing during this visit a strategic partnership between Canada and Sweden, a partnership that extends from defense to trade and to the environment and beyond. If we look at defense, obviously welcome Sweden to NATO this year. I met with the Prime Minister at NATO. We now serve together at the front lines in Latvia, the Canadian-led brigade in Latvia with Swedish soldiers defending freedom. When we look at trade, within our broader relationship with the European Union, many opportunities to continue our trade in everything from defense to artificial intelligence, to advanced manufacturing, so many areas, and we'll have a chance to discuss that. That leadership, environmental leadership, extending across 5 decades. We share those values, building our economies, creating opportunities for our citizens, and protecting our environment for future generations. So it is a deep honor that you've come back to Canada. Thank you, and we look forward to the discussions.
What Mark Carney just executed wasn't luck. It wasn't timing. It wasn't circumstance. It was strategy, pure, deliberate, calculated strategy, and the effects are now rippling through every corner of Canada's political and diplomatic landscape. Because while most leaders react to crises, Carney is doing something entirely different. He is building the world Canada will operate in for the next decade. And nowhere is that clearer than in the way Canada is confronting the United States. For years, Canadian governments, liberal and conservative, operated under the assumption that America's mood, America's politics, and America's approval defined our limits. The unspoken rule was simple: don't provoke Washington. Carney just tore that rulebook in half. He openly challenged U.S. control of Canada's defense procurement. He legitimized European defense alternatives. He embraced Chinese economic openings that Washington hates. And he secured alliances that don't require any American permission. But the brilliance isn't that he fought the United States. It's that he didn't need to. He simply showed the world that Canada has other options, and suddenly America's pressure stopped working. That is how you shift a geopolitical balance without a single confrontation. Meanwhile, Pierre Poilievre is still trying to figure out how two of his own MPs slipped away before the most important budget vote of the year. That moment wasn't just embarrassing, it was revealing. It showed Canadians that Poilievre's party is no longer monolithic. It showed caucus members are thinking for themselves. And it showed that Carney is already reshaping the political battlefield before the next election even arrives. Because the truth Poilievre doesn't want to admit is this. When MPs start crossing lines, they don't stop after one. They don't stop after two. They stop when confidence returns, and right now, confidence is moving toward Carney. The contrast between the two leaders has never been sharper. Carney, calm, controlled, decisive, surrounded by global partners and building new ones. Poilievre, rattled, repeating slogans, unable to hold his own benches together. And Canadians are noticing. But perhaps the most underrated shift is the one happening inside Canada itself. The social programs baked into the budget, national food assistance, pharmacare, dental care, childcare, healthcare investments, are defining what Carney calls protecting the Canadian way of life. It's not ideological. It's not partisan. It's structural. Clarity. Stability. Security. At the same time, he's tying that social foundation to national industry, rebuilding manufacturing, expanding energy capacity, modernizing infrastructure, and setting the stage for the jobs of the next generation. Whether it's critical minerals, AI, hydroelectric expansion, or low-carbon technology, Carney is drawing a map of Canada that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. And that brings us back to the most important theme of this entire political moment. Canada is no longer acting like a middle power waiting for big countries to decide its fate. Canada is acting like a sovereign power shaping its own future. Sweden's partnership. China's reopening. European cooperation. Defense independence. Strategic diversification. A budget built entirely around strengthening Canadians, not political games. Put those pieces together and you realize something. This wasn't just a good week for Mark Carney. This was a historic reset for the country. And yet, perhaps the most defining detail of all is the one almost nobody in the media is talking about. Mark Carney is not doing this alone. In every international meeting, every negotiating room, every strategic conversation, Mrs. Carney is right there beside him, shaping Canada's new global identity as part of a political and diplomatic power duo unlike anything Canada has seen in decades. Their presence together signals a kind of stability and unity that foreign leaders immediately recognize, and that Canadians are quickly learning to appreciate. Because leadership is not just policy. It's not just messaging. It's not just speeches or statistics. Leadership is presence. Leadership is tone. Leadership is the ability to walk into a room, whether in Beijing, Stockholm, Ottawa, or Washington, and make everyone instantly understand that Canada is no longer a passenger. Canada is a driver. And for the first time in a very long time, Canadians are seeing a Prime Minister who governs not by reacting, but by anticipating. Not by waiting, but by initiating. Not by hoping, but by designing. This is not the Mark Carney critics warned about. This is not the banker PM skeptics expected. This is a strategist, a builder, a leader whose decisions are already reshaping the geopolitical architecture around Canada's future. And that's why this moment matters. Because when you step back, when you put the pieces together, the budget, the NDP maneuvering, the conservative fractures, the defense realignment, the European alliance, the China thaw, the EV market opening, you see a pattern. Carney is not reacting to Trump. He is not responding to global pressure. He is not playing defense. He is setting the board. He is defining the next chapter of Canada's place in the world. And whether his opponents like it or not, the country is already moving with him. This isn't a political moment. This is a transformation. And we're only at the beginning.
Canada debates.